Hello everybody, welcome to this tutorial for the gorgeous heart satchel bag. This video has been brought to you by my supplier and I am doing a voiceover of their work. The chap here is just going through all the pieces and showing all the pieces, that gorgeous flap with the heart on there. You've got your magnetic closure, the back panel, you've got the zip panels, you've got the straps. And inside your little pouch, you've got your zip, your thread and your hardware and your little faux leather loops for the strap. And you've got your magnetic closure as well there. So those little bits are for your strap, which I find really interesting. And two little screws, so two little knobs and two little screws. And then you've got your magnetic closure and the back piece, which obviously gives some support. So we're taking this panel, which has got the two holes in the center, and on the outside, so you've got two sides to your PU, on the outside you want to pop your magnetic closure through the holes, and he's just showing you through a few tools there that you might need. So pop the magnetic closure through the front, through the holes, and then you're going to pop on the back piece and push your prongs out. Now this chap uses a lighter to push those prongs out. I don't recommend you do that. Just use some other tool, a tool that's a lot more safe than that. But once that's on, you can pop that panel to one side because that, you don't need that for a little while. We've got the straps here. So there's a strap, and we need our little screwdriver that you've got in your kit as well. And using those little knobs and screws, you can see here you've got a small hole next to the two larger holes. You're going to pop your screw through, and then on the other side you're going to screw on that little knob piece, like so, and then you can hold on to it and use your screwdriver to really give it a good tighten. You're going to do that at the other end as well, so you need one of these on each end. And you can see where it goes because it's a smaller hole than the rest. So you can see there's two holes there, and it's going to go on that first one nearest the end hole, which is larger. So pop it through, screw it on, and screw from the other side. Make sure that's really nice and tight. So now we're going to move on to the zip. Now the zip needs a bit of concentration, okay? It does need a bit of concentration. You are going to have two tabs like this that go on either side of your zip, and as you can see there's no holes in your zip. You are just going to have to measure this for yourself. It's very straightforward. We're going to, the length of thread you need, I would recommend, would be 2.5 times the size of the length of your tab, okay? And we can have one tab on one end and one tab on the other end. Now do not touch your zip pull, okay? Because your zip pull will just fling off the end at this point. So don't touch your zip pull. This chap is using 5 lots, 6 lots, 7 lots. I imagine that's for either side. So thread your needle, and then you're going to pop your needle through that tail to form a knot at the bottom of your needle. So pop it through, and then you can double knot if you like, and you're just going to go take that needle back through the thread again, and that's going to provide you a double knot. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. You can completely do this without. And as I said, you can pop another needle on the end and do your saddle stitch with your two needles. On this particular video, it's shown using one needle. So essentially a running stitch and then going back the other way with another running stitch. So it's up to you what you want to do, but obviously you've got the one needle provided in your kit. So that knot's on there, nice and tight. So the first thing we need to do is place the end of our tab. Look, he's just going to show you, if you whiz that off there, it's going to come off, so don't do it. So he's going to peel the zip apart at the end, basically, to make it a bit easier to manage, but not touching that zip pull. So just a wee bit. So the end of your faux leather, you're going to start, as you can see there, from the bottom up. one hole, and that's going at a different, 90-degree angle from the zip. I was trying to figure out what angle I was trying to say there. 90-degree angle from the zip. And you're placing that on the end. So you want one hole overhanging the end of your zip. And you're going to stitch that piece down just along that short edge, okay? You're going to stitch it down. And then you take the other end, the long side of the PU, and you're going to place it along the zip teeth. So you're going to form a little pleat behind, and you'll see in a second exactly how this chap does it. He's just holding on to that thread there, and then you can loop it in and obviously melt those threads so that there's no movement there. So just doing that, and then folding that behind, and you can see then it forms a nice zip edge around that PU tab. You can see a little crease in the back there. Fold it round, and then carry on your stitches all the way along to the end. All right, and you're actually going to go to the end and then down the side, but you're not going to stitch the other long side. That must remain unstitched. Sorry, we've got a bit of blurry. It will come back in focus. That must remain unstitched because that is going to stitch onto your bag. Okay, so stitch that all the way along. And as I said before, he's just doing a running stitch, and then we'll go back and do a running stitch in the gaps to make everything nice and secure. Can you hear all the birds in the background? They're my birds. Well, they're not my birds. They're birds outside my house rather than birds on this video. So this video has been sped up a little bit. You're not expected to go at this speed. Just take your time, enjoy it. Get yourself out in the garden. Get the telly on. Take it on your holidays. I actually don't know what the regulations are for aeroplanes these days, whether or not you could get this needle on. But if you could be stitching this on the aeroplane. I'm actually just living vicariously through all of you because I will not be going on an aeroplane this year and have not been on an aeroplane for several years. So if one of you would like to do that and send me pictures, I'd love to see. Right, we're coming to the end. It's just adjusting the lighting. Coming to the end there. And we're just then going to take it down. Okay, so we're not twisting anything at this point. You're keeping it exactly as it is. You're not taking that zip down that side like you did at the end. You're just stitching it off. And you'll see how this all comes together on the bag. It just looks absolutely superb. Pulling everything nice and tight. And then going back the other way. So it depends if you find this way easier. Do it this way, but if you prefer to use 2 needles to do your saddle stitch, do it that way. It's entirely up to you. I think I like to do 2 needles, but I can see the appeal for just doing 1, definitely. So off it goes, up the other side. So then just burning the ends of the thread and pressing them down with your thumb, that just secures the ends. They're not going to go anywhere, and it's going to be a really durable zip. So we're going to do the same on the other side. Now the other side, obviously, you've got to line these 2 pieces up so they meet. The first one, you sort of just went for it. The second one, you do have to line them up. So just line both of the sides up and then tuck that piece around, and it should work perfectly fine. You're just going to do exactly as you did before, but this time you're starting with the crease already in that zip because, of course, you need to make sure it's level. You can't just stitch it on the end like you did the other one. So get that edge folded. I really do recommend using some quilting clips just to take some pressure off your fingers and just to keep everything secure. So, you know, it really does make life that little bit easier if you just use some clips to hold it together. So you can see that piece is done. The zip now, if you pull it off, it's not going to come off the end because you've got those 2 curved pieces. We're moving on to the piping. You're going to pop your piping in on this strip, and you want to start on the left hand side about 12 holes in from the end, and you're going to stitch up to the second hole on the other end, encapsulating that piping. Now we do only want to do a running stitch on this one. It's really important. We are not going to completely saddle stitch this piece. We just want to do a running stitch because we complete the saddle stitch by stitching it into the bag. So you only do want one needle for this. You're going to go through a couple of times, and you can see here the end that we've left. We're just going to tuck into that loop, which is going to secure it into place. And then we'll do that again on the next piece as well. So we'll go through, make a loop, and we'll secure the end again. It just helps keep that end. And then of course we can use our lighter to melt that so that we don't have any sort of tail sticking out. So just a running stitch along, make sure you're pulling nice and tight. You're going to stitch right to the very end, just 2 holes away from the end. Your needle is going to be in that second hole, or will have just gone through that second hole. So you have 1 hole spare at the end. Once you've got that 1 hole spare at the end, you're going to insert this end into the other end so that you create a loop of piping. The needle goes through, and it will go through this one, through the other end, sorry, and then through this one. You'll see it come together. So just that first hole on the end goes through the first hole on the other end. So it's very, very straightforward. You can see there. Pop it inside, through that first hole. There we go. And through that first hole. So through both and then out the other side. Then we're going to take our needle up so we create a little loop over the top of the piece that we started with. So connects them together really nicely, gives you a really nice join. Pull it nice and tight, needle through, and then back again through the hole we started from, which is lovely and secure. Once you've done that, you're just going to stitch up the remaining hole. Now, of course, you will have a little bit of extra piping there. You're just going to trim those off so they butt against each other. You don't want them to overlap. You want them to butt against each other. So just trim off one end, line it up, trim off the other, and just pop them into that hole. And then continue your running stitch until you get to where you started. Or just do a couple of stitches over, melt those threads again, so that you've got a lovely piece of piping, a lovely join. So there we go, stitching through, just carrying on that running stitch and making to pull nice and tight. Making sure to pull nice and tight, I should say. Carrying on. Just do a couple of extra stitches from where you started, as you can see there, and that will secure that thread down really nicely. Make sure to snip those extra threads off. Use your lighter, dab it down with your thumb, and it will fuse all the thread together and you won't have an issue. So there we have 1 loop of piping. Now obviously the join where your piping comes together, you really do want at the bottom of your bag. So you can eyeball that and just pop that on the bottom of your bag. Because we're going to move on to one of the panel pieces now. So there's the front piece with the magnetic closure, and then you've got your main gusset piece. So we're going to stitch the piping between the gusset and the bag panel. So you can see it's just showing you all of those pieces there. You're going to start and end on the very first. So we're doing 1, 2, 3 and a bit length of thread here for that gusset. Now, if you haven't got your quilting clips out yet, get them out now, okay? Because this bit is quite fiddly. Thread your needle again. You're going to be putting 3 things together here. So, yeah, get yourself some clips. Pop your knot in again. And we're just going to move that join towards where we think the middle of the bag will go. And then we're going to just start stitching our gusset on, okay? You can see a couple of marks he's made there. It's honestly irrelevant where you start this, as long as you've got your the join of the piping towards the base of the bag, you'll be absolutely fine. So you want to just stitch through and stitch round, but you're going to have to also place your gusset on. So the piping, as you can see, the holes sit inside. So the bag panel is wrong side, you can see, and then it goes through the holes of the piping so that raw edge is against the raw edge of the bag. So you're going to go through, and then you're going to bring in your gusset, and you're going through the wrong side, so the right side is on the outside, okay? You're going to stitch that all the way around that edge. And this will be a bit fiddly because you're going to go round a curve. Just get those first few stitches in and get them pulled tight, and then you'll be away. But as I say, round that curve, it's going to be a little bit fiddly. But you can do it. Just take your time. Just one hole at a time. Pull it nice and tight. And keep going through there. So just to repeat myself, you're stitching the outer is face down onto the piping, and that raw edge is joining up with the raw edge, and then you're stitching through the wrong side of the PU. So all you can see at the minute are wrong sides. And you're just sandwiching them together. And obviously you've got to line up each hole, which is why it's fiddly. You're going through 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 hole, 4 holes. So you do have to just, you know, take your time. There's no rush. There's no prizes for first place. Keep pulling it nice and tight, because obviously this is your gusset. This is going to hold your purse in here, so you don't want it to be, you don't want any loose stitches. Just hold it nice and still. I'll show you a little bit more of this. It's a nice sharp needle, so you're not going to have any problems going through those holes. If you've got any holes that haven't quite been punched through, you just need to poke them out with your needle and you'll be fine. So it's better to do that before you start stitching, because you don't have to go through those little pieces. They're just a pain basically, so just pop them out with your needle. Once you've reached the end where the gusset and the bag come together, you're going to stitch up 18 holes. You're going to complete that saddle stitch up 18 holes, okay, because that is going to be the side loop of your bag and you want that saddle stitch completed. So just go ahead and stitch up 18. Now from 18 you're going to take that loop or take the piping and it's going to go over the other side of the bag, so it's going to be the back of the bag. So you want to complete that because this loop is where your straps are going to attach to. So complete by going up 18 holes. You can see, just pulling it nice and tight. You can see this chap's made a mark at 18, so if you want to do that, please go ahead and do so. Or you can just count the holes. So we come out there, 18. You're just coming up a couple more just to, close off the thread. So snip. And that's the front of the bag done. Looks absolutely gorgeous. So now we're moving on to the back and the flap. You can see that there's 3 lines of holes there, but 2 lines on the flap. So the 2 closest lines is where you're going to saddle stitch your flap onto. The second line is actually where you're going to pop your zip onto. So line up the flap, right side up and right side up back panel and pop them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lengths of your thread, and you're just going to saddle stitch those two lines. They're not you don't go round and square. It's 1 line finish, 2nd line finish. Okay, once that's all done, you're then going to pop the back panel on while looping over the piping. So as you can see, we've got all the holes punched out perfectly fine. We're just going to measure our thread. So we're going round once, we're going round twice, we're going around 3 times, 4 times, and a length of the base. And that's how much thread you will use. So threading the needle again. You're experts at threading your needle at this point, pulling that knot tight. Now, if you thought the first part was fiddly, this part is fiddly. So get those quilting clips, clip everything together. Trust me that you can see this chap struggling because he's not clipping it together, and all you need is a few quilting clips. So we'll just wait for the angle to change because you're not going to see this for a second. He's getting himself all in a tizzy. Wait for it. He's going to figure it out. It's coming. The penny's going to drop any second. There we go. So we've got, you can see the loop of piping there, okay? I'm going to take that piping and it's going to go over the other side in the gusset. Now remember where you stitched up 18 holes? That is where you're going to start stitching your back panel onto, okay? So there's your marks, your 18. Okay, so just finishing off the saddle stitches up to that 18th line. So you've got that on both sides now. So both sides at the 18 hole point, you've completely finished the saddle stitches. You're going to loop that over. So that goes to the inside of your gusset. And then your outer is obviously going to sit on top of that, but you need that right side out. And you're going to sandwich it between. So this is really where you're going to get those clips in, okay? So going through the first hole of your gusset, you can see there, go through there, go through your piping, and then take that needle through your outer piece. Once you've got about 3 or 4 inches of this stitched on. It's a lot easier to hold on to, so you could get rid of your clips at that point, but I do recommend you use them. If you don't want to mark your PU, you could pop a little bit of fabric into the clip before you clip it onto the PU. So into that hole there, and you're sandwiching everything together exactly as you did the other side. It's just a little bit more fiddly because you've obviously got half the bag to contend with. Next hole, and line it up onto your piping piece, and then lining it up through the bag, through the gusset. Once you've done these first couple of stitches, you're going to pull that join nice and tight. Okay, you can see there exactly how it comes together. That's a really lovely angle. So go through the gusset in the piping and then bring in that back panel. That seems to be the easiest way to go about things. And pulling it nice and tight there. Okay, so once that part's done, you're just going to come to the end. It looks gorgeous, doesn't it? It does look really, really professional. A little bit of an angle change. Come through the end there. Just join it together and do a few stitches onto that loop to secure your threads. Get that lighter in, melt the threads, use your thumb, push it in, and you've got a lovely join there. That is your bag all made. So we move on to the strap. Oh no, my apologies. We move on to the zip. We nearly were zipless there, guys, nearly zipless. So move on to the zip. Once we're just getting rid of all these little bits. Be very careful if you're using heat near the leather like that. It will melt. You know, it's PU, so it will melt. So just be super, super careful. Your zip, really, really straightforward. It's just going to be inserted. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and a little bit. Oh no, 4. And you're just going to stitch along those edges. It's up to you which way your zip goes. It could go off to the left, it could go off to the right. It will work either way, so it's personal choice. Line it up, wrong sides together, inside there, and then you're going to line the wrong sides on the other side. Very, very straightforward. Get that stitched on. Once that's stitched on, you're going to get your strap. So pop on your little loop and take it over the metal. Loop it through your loop on the bag, pop the metal together and then bring your loop down to secure it. Do the same on the other side. Now you can adjust this strap. So this one's got 2 that you can choose from, and the other side has got more holes, so you can have this bag longer or shorter. So if you pop it on there, it's the longest. Don't forget your loop. Pop it over, through the hole, push it on. It's not going to go anywhere. Push it on and then bring your loop down. Make sure the raw edge is on the inside. There we go, turned around. And there's your strap on. And as I say, you can adjust the length of this. So you can open it out and wriggle it quite far up. Look, the holes go quite far up. So you can adjust this so it's a shorter strap or a longer strap, depending if you want to wear it across your body or over your shoulder. And you can have the strap on either side. So you could have, it depends which way you want to put the strap round basically. You could have the longer adjustment side on the left, or you could have the longer adjustment side on the right. Once you've figured out which side you like it on, you can just pop it in, and you can see it just pushes in. It's not going to go anywhere, pushes in, and then you use that loop just to give it an extra bit of security. Just going to adjust this side, taking that right up to that top one there. You see? Using that loop and bringing it right down. And it looks so neat and so professional. I hope you enjoy making your bag. I'd love to see any pictures. Please feel free to post in my group, and I hope you found this tutorial informative. Thanks everyone.